What's going on, everyone? You're listening to Racially Speaking. I'm your host, David Phipps, and welcome back. It's been a few weeks, and look, I'm just gonna be honest. These are not the fun episodes. Um, these are not the ones I enjoy the most. I'd much rather be talking about something else. But look, I figured that the integrity of this podcast, with it being a justice issues podcast, I needed to jump on here and at least say a few things about what's been going on in our country, or the United States if you're listening from out of the country. At the time of this recording, this is July 14th, and last night, July 13th, or yesterday, July 13th, there was, of course, an assassination attempt, which is what I think it's officially being called, on former President Trump's at a rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. And I also have not jumped on here since the presidential debate, so I'll say a few words on that. And justice speaking, racially speaking, as you can imagine, I have a few thoughts. And look, I always want to make this accessible. I'm only a quasi-expert on this podcast with a lot of the topics. That's why I try and bring on people who are definitely experts, and you can kind of hear their thoughts on stuff. So yeah, look, here we go. And first and foremost, if you're new, but especially if you're not new to listening to the show, I just want to speak out and be consistent. What happened at the presidential rally, or at the Trump rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, is disgusting. Hopefully you guys know me well enough by now that I'm a very big proponent for speaking up and helping combat gun violence. So of course, I in no way, no part of me is celebratory about anything that happened at the Trump rally, an assassination attempt, gun violence. I think is all reprehensible. I think it's terrible. Heart goes out to everyone affected there, whose lives are forever changed because they were attending that event and maybe barely escaped with their lives. Hearts go out to the loved ones of the people who were killed and are still recovering. Terrible, horrible stuff. Terrible. I also just I don't necessarily blame for anybody's reaction to anything, given the current headline culture we're in, and just the polarization we're all just consistently affected by right now. I'm a praying Christian man, and I never want to be in a place where I've compromised that. Yet I also want to show empathy to people who are just deeply affected by former President Trump as a leader and politician who has done some things that we talked about here on the podcast, and continues to stand for things on here that are affecting people's lives to a detriment. So hopefully all that's clear. Heart goes out to everyone affected by this shooting. Thankful Trump was not killed. Thankful more people were not killed. I think it's terrible stuff. But I wanted to come on here and talk a little bit about that. So let me start a little bit with the debate that happened a few weeks ago. Again, I'm not a political analyst or political expert, and like I said, I want to make this as accessible to everyone as possible. So hopefully this is a good on-ramp to that. So since last night, I can't stop thinking about the quote that many of you are probably pretty familiar with, whether it's elementary school, your parents, your coaches, saying it's all fun and games until someone gets hurt. I think as a parent, I say that sometimes, right? Look, what I mean by that, and this is personal, I watched the whole debate, but I didn't watch it all the first night. I caught the kind of last 20 minutes of it. We had something going on, so I got home late. We turned it on, me and my wife, and I kid you not, we turned it on. If you watched it, during the segment that Trump and Biden were talking about their golf swings. Yeah, they're talking about their golf swings. I turned it on smack dab in the middle of that, and they were attacking each other's golf swings, and essentially it seemed like trash talking each other that they could out golf each other. Yeah, I thought it was a joke. My wife and I, we looked at each other and I said, is this a joke? Is this a commercial? What's happening? So there's the fun and games part. There was that, and of course, I'm late to this train, so most of you have heard or seen clips. Even I think the debate was objectively a joke. It was a joke. Fun and games. It was a disaster for Biden, and so being maybe wasn't a disaster for Trump, but I'd say it was a disaster for both as far as political discourse goes. I thought it seemed pretty embarrassing. Regardless of which way you're voting. And so I'm not going to get into all of that because there's plenty of other reputable sources that can help you with that. But as a put it everything in layman's terms, and for anybody that comes on here, putting any stock into what I say, what I encourage everyone to do is do your own research. It doesn't even have to be super, super in-depth research, but do your own research. So kind of the big things I took away from the debate and then people's reaction to debate are that Biden did really terrible, looked completely out of his element, kind of not all there, was not able to actually debate anything, just didn't seem super articulate or really with it or healthy. And I know a lot of stuff's out there that he was sick or I don't know. Anyway, did not look good. But then on the other side of the fence was Trump, who, some in my opinion, but it seems like most other people's opinion, just got by on capitalizing off of the weakness of Biden by continuing to speak more articulately and eloquently. But he was saying lies. And so that's what everyone is saying, that he was just full of lie after lie after lie after lie after lie. I would encourage everyone to see those headlines, see those claims, and do your own research. So a little bit of what I did. Sat down, wrote some things down as I watched the replay of the debate, and that's, of course, on YouTube. If you want to go back to listen to it, I do encourage you to do that if you want to be engaged. And wrote down things that Trump claimed and said, and then did some research. Of course, you can find anything you want to find on the internet, so look for reputable sources, look for things on both sides of the aisle. And then something that helped me is literally looked up video evidence on YouTube of things that Biden claimed Trump said and things that Trump claimed he said or didn't say, and see just what is actually true. Now, of course, there are multiple interviews for any given story. One was his response to what happened in Charlottesville with the white supremacist gathering back in 2017, where he, of course, continues to be quoted as saying there were good people on both sides at that rally, which ended up with the woman being killed, and how that upset a lot of people, myself included. Look that up. There's multiple interviews where he says something like that. But I think context matters, and I'd say two things can be true sometimes. Like, I think this is just one example. I looked it up and was actually struck by it didn't change in any way the big picture what I think about some things he says, but I think it's a good heart check if I'm being completely honest with, well, okay, it actually does seem like what he said in this one interview was taken out of context a little bit. It doesn't mean he's not telling lies in the debate, but I encourage you guys to go listen. And just with this example, I'd say there was one interview where let's keep it all the way real, guys. He did denounce white supremacists and was very clear in one video that I watched to denounce white supremacy, denounce the neo-Nazis associated at Charlottesville, but then say there were people on both sides taking things out of context that were responsible for this rally becoming more contentious than it already was. I think that's more fair than even some credit I've given him in the past. Now, with that said, he did say plenty of other problematic things, including not distancing himself around that same time from former KKK leader David Duke. Okay, and that's racially speaking, where I'll say that there's not really an argument that can be made, in my opinion, to me, that would convince me that Trump cares about people of color, black and brown people, overall, regardless of what he says. And I think a lot of lies from the debate are hinge on the racial elements. And so please do your own research, though. Of course, there was his claims, the lies he put out about his involvement with January 6th. There's a lot of video evidence that just shows that he in fact was telling lies at the debate. But I encourage you guys to go again, look that stuff up. One big one is that he, says he told everyone to go in calmly and patriotically, and that they were just ushered in by police in the Capitol, and that it was not incited by him, and that it didn't turn bad until later. But then that's, of course, a small part of a speech where he says that one piece, but then throughout most of the rest of the speech, he tells people to fight. Of course, he's been, on trial and indicted for all these crimes. He, of course, calls in that debate Biden a criminal, which is kind of laughable given his current circumstances. All this stuff. But that's kind of it on the debate. And I don't mean to make light of any of it, but I couldn't help but think of that quote I shared with "It's all fun and games till someone gets hurt." As I both understand why people want to check out and not engage with politics right now. I'm in that spot a lot of times as well. But I think it seemed like a big game. The debate seemed like a big game. And if anything, it is easy to laugh off because it's more just a what are you supposed to do feeling of, wow, that was shockingly terrible. Like I said, when I turned it on, they were talking about golf. That was a joke. Just unbelievable. Fast forward to last night at the time of this recording, July 13th, an assassination attempt on former President Trump. To me, I told a couple people this, I just have I had a sinking feeling in my stomach, like a pit in my stomach that I honestly could only remember having in that same way the morning after the 2016 election when Trump won. And it wasn't because somebody won or didn't win or anything like that. It was what I felt like in my gut it just indicated was to come. And unfortunately, a lot of that proved to be right. That a lot of things got worse. And a lot of those things were how the marginalized quality of life was affected. I'm worried what even just an assassination attempt will now do, who it will embolden, and where we're headed. And I don't mean to be all doom and gloom. Like I said, I'm 100% a praying man, a Christian man, puts my whole faith in Jesus, and that he's in control of all of this. I never want to be somebody that is callous towards. At the same time, I am disheartened by how bad an assassination attempt, how indicative an assassination attempt is of how bad things are. And I think it's rightfully so woken a lot of people up, but it's such a shame that it takes that once again to wake people up to how contentious and dire things are right now. And my prayers are that I'm wrong, that my gut's wrong, that things don't just keep getting worse and worse and worse, as far as how polarized everything and everyone is. I pray that the wrong people would not be emboldened because of all this. I hope the true calls for unity are actually things that we can see happen in a lot of areas. That those are not just false claims and false ideas and calls, but that they are something we all want to collectively see come to fruition. That's where my heart and prayers are for what's going on. Yeah, that's for the most part what I have kind of to say, and I'm sharing with you guys that I've been processing myself of what to think about what's going on. Look, I think that this coming election matters not because of one person or the other or two people even, but it matters because I think that I truly believe that this election has, at the minimum, a quality of life for people in America and all over the world you can make a case for. But especially as far as this podcast goes, the quality of life for the marginalized and people of color, I think, is at stake in a lot of ways with this election. And I always say this, you guys are probably tired of me saying this, but justice issues have life and death implications, and hopefully that's clearer than ever as I'm recording this. So I encourage you guys, please engage, do your own research. Hopefully this is a helpful little short episode guide to kind of how to engage, how I'm engaging with things. So I encourage you guys to do that, do your own research. Please don't just scroll, read a couple headlines and think you have it figured out, or think it's okay to just not care. Everyone's got their own threshold. Engage how you feel, called to engage. But please do your own research before checking out, or I'd say worse, giving a strong-handed opinion about something that it could easily be researched in 5 minutes. I know that's something I'm really challenging myself currently with. I'm trying quite literally to not be so quick to respond, be a little quicker to think, process, and engage, or at least engage in the right settings. So, all right, thank you guys for listening. Of course, please, if you have not already, please like, subscribe, and follow the podcast wherever you can. Rate, review, and share it. It really does help us get the word out, help people find the podcast. It does help us more ways than you think if you don't think it really matters. So yeah, please go and do that. If you have not already, we would really, really appreciate it. Give us 5 stars. Give us a short review. And of course, as always, if you would like to support the podcast financially for as little as $1, $3, or $5 a month, please visit patreon.com/racially speaking, where you can get bonus info and bonus episodes from myself and bonus engagement from me on that page, and stay up to date on some other things that we are regularly doing. All right, that's all I got for us today. We'll see you guys next time. Thank you.